I slammed the taxi door shut, rain hammering the curb like a fist against tin, and the man in the back seat smiled exactly when I thought he would. Just a little too late, like someone watching a paused film. Sent by Javier S., Tacoma, Washington. Driving late shifts in Seattle had taught me to read faces the way other people read the weather. You learn the tilt of a head that means someone's drunk, the taut jaw of someone who'll stiffen if you make a joke. That night, I remember every light reflecting off the wet pavement, every neon sign fracturing into shards along the river. I should have been counting fares, not noticing small delays in how faces answered mirrors, but the delay is what caught me first. 2 blocks after I picked him up, when I glanced at the rear view to adjust the seat, his reflection blinked a half-beat later than the man in the back seat itself. At first I blamed fatigue, long drives, too many IV coffees, the gray pressing on you like a second skin. Then my phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. "You see it too," it said. Below that, "He doesn't have to wait." I thought it was a joke, some bored kid trying to mess with a night driver. I typed back nothing. The city felt farther away, the pools of light around the stoplights turning into little islands. The man in my car asked for the university address, a building I knew well. He kept his hands folded on his knees, simple jacket, voice low. When I turned to check the GPS, the reflection in the side mirror was already turning its head toward the left window before the man did. It was a tiny, ridiculous thing. My mouth tasted like pennies. The rule in my head, because you start cataloging when terror wants to feel scientific, was simple. Whatever was wrong with reflections, it only acted through mirrored surfaces. The restriction followed. It could not move things that were completely matte, could not reach through cloth or glass that didn't show it. The signature was cruel in its intimacy, the eyes. In every reflection that lied, the eyes were the giveaway, slightly off axis, fragmenting light in the pupil the wrong way, as if a second pair of muscles blinked under the skin. The escalation was the one thing that made me sleep with lights on for 3 nights after. It began with micro gestures, then made whole reflections move without the real person, and finally tried to take the place of the person it mirrored. I told myself I was inventing patterns. That's what anxiety does. Forces cause into meaning. My passenger hummed something under his breath I couldn't place. He kept glancing at every reflective surface. Chrome trash cans, shop windows, my taxi meter. Same delayed answers. When we hit a stoplight, his reflection leaned forward a shade before the man did. When the man reached for his wallet, the reflection's fingertips flexed and curled just a tick slower. I should have asked him to get out. Instead, I drove, the rain doing that abrasive whisper on the windshield, and my phone buzzed again. "They like the late shifts," it read. "No number attached, no name." I pulled over into a lighted pocket and the man opened the door, stepping out like any fare. As he left, I watched the mirror for the after image. You always do, when something has unsettled you. And his reflection in the rear view lingered a second longer than it should have. Head tilted at an impossible angle, lips forming a consonant without producing sound. That's when I noticed something else. Reflections around the city were starting to be wrong. A mural in an alley showed a painted woman whose reflection in a rain puddle mouthed words a beat off from the page. A bakery window reflected a baker with a smudge of flour that wasn't on the baker's apron. My journalistic side, my old college self, wanted to document everything, so I started taking notes in the margins of my app. Rule: reflection only. Restriction: cannot act in non-reflection. Signature: eye twitch, mouth gesture, pre-speech. Escalation: micro, independent, takeover. People stopped believing me before I could finish a full sentence. "You're tired," they said. "You're imagining things," they told my dispatcher when I asked to switch shifts. The texts from that nameless number grew more specific. "He's been practicing. He likes the way you check the mirror." I felt like my privacy was being rearranged, like someone was sliding drawers inside my skull until all the things I thought solid were at different angles. One night, a drunk called a ride and slumped in the back, smelling of whiskey and regret. He was talkative, the kind that narrates his fall in real time. I watched his reflection in the side window, expecting the familiar lag. Instead, the reflection watched me first. It met my eyes with those wrong twitches and then, horrifyingly, mouthed my name. Javier. The sound didn't come from his mouth. It came from every glossed surface at once, a soft, wet consonant that didn't belong to any throat in the car. I swallowed hard. The man in the back laughed, oblivious. I learned that laughter is a brave man's last defense. I started to carry a mat cloth, a heavy canvas I could throw over any mirror or shiny surface. It felt childish, like covering nursery pictures during a thunderstorm, but it helped because the entity needed the possibility of a reflection to stage its little betrayals. Once, at a 24-hour laundromat, an entire wall of chrome dryers began to simulate movement. Inside each circular window, the reflections of customers peeled away from their owners and mimed actions ahead of them. People argued, thinking they saw double. I threw the cloth over a dryer and felt the world snap back, like a rubber band releasing pressure. Isolation became the cruelest part. Even when I showed friends footage, grainy clips with the delays, their faces softened with sympathy and disbelief. My sister told me to stop driving nights. My manager made me take a week off. During the days, the city looked normal. Reflections obeyed, noses aligned with mouths, lights bending the same way they always had. At night, the glass remembered a different grammar. At my lowest, 2 weeks in, I decided to confront whatever this thing was. I booked a late pickup at the old observatory, high, glassy, full of reflective instruments, and took a taxi there with no passenger, just me and my questions. The observatory sits on a hill that overlooks the harbor. The city lights pool under it like spilled ink. I left the taxi running and walked inside, the polished brass instruments glinting like small suns. I pulled the canvas off my shoulder and set it aside. My phone vibrated. One message, a single word. Ready. The mirrors were everywhere. I stood in the center and tried to act normal. Lift my hand, blink, shrug. The reflections matched, but with the familiar delay. Then they didn't. One mirror, an antique-looking glass with a gilt frame, smiled on its own. Its eyes were wrong and heavy-lidded, and its mouth moved to shape consonants I couldn't hear. I stepped back. In the glossy dome of a telescope, the reflection crouched and leaned forward, mouth forming words. The sound, when it came, wasn't a sound at all, but a visual after-effect. The air seemed to ripple with spelled-out letters, shadows shaping words against the floor. I remember standing there, heart a battering thing, thinking of paperwork and insurance and the stupid, small kindnesses of people who thought me tired. And I said aloud, because saying is sometimes the only proof you can offer yourself. What do you want? The reflection blinked, off by a fraction, and lifted a hand. It didn't mirror me. It moved in a way no person in that room had moved and pointed toward the window where the city slept. Then it raised its mouth again and mouthed the CTA I had read 1,000 times in scripts and thumbnails, exactly where the tension peaked in my head. If you're enjoying these true horror stories, make sure to subscribe to Ultra Spooky and hit that notification bell so you never miss when we upload new nightmares. It wasn't a promotion. It was a taunt, arranged across the mirrors like some grotesque sponsorship. My throat closed. When I backed away, my real hand trembled, and in the polished scope the reflection unfolded away from my movement, and for the first time looked entirely like someone else standing where I should have been. Then the mirror flashed, only for an instant, and I saw my own empty body reflected as if someone had hollowed me out. People still call me paranoid. I stopped driving nights, but the habit of checking every reflective surface didn't leave me. I paint over shiny chrome on my dash with matte paint. I avoid polished elevators, and I cross the street when a shop window shows a face lagging a beat behind its owner. The last message from the anonymous number arrived 3 nights ago. A photograph of my kitchen sink taken from an impossible angle, and in its metallic basin a face staring up, eyes twitching wrong. Attached, no text, just a timestamp for exactly 2 minutes from then. I don't sleep for long anymore. I taped the canvas to the inside of my bedroom window and covered mirrors with sheets. Still, when I dream, the reflections come through, the small discrepancies first, then the slow attempt to fill the space. This morning I found a hairline scratch on my bathroom mirror, a tiny line that starts at the upper left corner and runs down, almost like a tally mark carved with a fingernail. It wasn't there yesterday. The scratch moves a fraction of an inch every day. This was just one of many terrifying true stories from the ultra-spooky archives. Stay tuned for our next tale of horror.